How to get a Turkish citizenship by $400,000 real estate investment. In this video, I'm going to share with you the application steps, required documents, and very important tips to successfully apply for a Turkish citizenship by property investment program. Firstly, let me start with explaining what is a Turkish citizenship by investment program and what are the investment options. Foreigners can apply to Turkish citizenship if they make an investment in qualified options. These investment options are $400,000 property investment, $500,000 bank deposit, or $500,000 investment in private pension plan. If foreigners make this investment, then they will be eligible to apply for Turkish citizenship for themselves and also for their family. In this video, I'm going to focus on property investment and how to get Turkish citizenship if you invest more than $400,000 in property in Turkey. So, as you can understand from the name of the program, a foreigner needs to invest more than $400,000 in Turkish property to be eligible to apply to Turkish citizenship. By property, foreigners cannot invest to land. They can only invest to buildings that are already constructed or under construction, but there has to be a plan for that property. So this means that a foreigner cannot buy a land and apply to Turkish citizenship by that land. Instead of that, either they can invest a second-hand property, a finished property project, or a property under construction with relevant permits. It can be a residential property or a commercial property, and a foreigner can invest more than one properties as long as the total investment amount is more than $400,000, and this will make the foreigner eligible to apply for the Turkish citizenship. What are the application steps to apply to Turkish citizenship by $400,000 property investment? The first step is that the foreigner needs to open a bank account in Turkey and transfer $400,000 from his country to Turkey. After the money is ready at the Turkish bank as US dollar or euro or British pounds, then the foreigner needs to search for property. The foreigner can choose a second-hand property, or the foreigner can directly buy from the developer a finished property or a property under construction. After the property selection is done, then the foreigner can make currency exchange document. This means that foreigner needs to convert money from US dollar to Turkish lira, and then after that the foreigner can go to the title deed office to complete the title deed transfer and get the ownership of the property. After the ownership of the property is taken, then the foreigner or the legal representative of the foreigner needs to apply for investment eligibility report. This report is directly taken from the title deed office, and it says that the foreigner made an investment for more than $400,000 in property, and that property will be kept and will not be sold in the next 3 years. And with that investment eligibility report, the foreigner will be eligible to apply for the Turkish citizenship. In order to apply for the Turkish citizenship, the foreigner needs to have an active residence permit in Turkey. And there is investor type residence permit, which is called J-type residency. And the foreigner can apply to that residence permit. Usually that residence permit is obtained within 2 or 3 weeks. And after that, investor type residence permit is obtained. Then the foreigner and his family can apply for the Turkish citizenship program. Which family members are eligible to apply for Turkish citizenship by property investment program? The family members of the investor can apply for the residence permit and Turkish citizenship by property. The important thing is the definition of the family. According to the Turkish regulations, the investor, the spouse of the investor, and children below 18 years old can directly apply for Turkish citizenship from the same property. Many clients are asking if their father, mother, uncle, or if their siblings are eligible for the citizenship from one investment. Unfortunately, the answer is no. Only the investor the spouse of the investor, and children below 18 years old will be eligible to apply for Turkish citizenship from one investment. What are the required documents to apply for the Turkish citizenship by property investment? First of all, I will differentiate it between the adults and the minor kids. The adults are the investor and the spouse of the investor. From the adults, these documents are required: the birth certificate, the marriage record, and also the criminal record. This means that the investor and his spouse needs to bring these birth certificate, marriage record, and criminal record from their country, and these documents needs to be apostilled, or they have to be from that country's Turkish embassy in Turkey, and after that they have to be validated at the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs or at Kaymakamlık office. And from the children, these documents are required. The children only need to bring their birth certificate, and this is enough. And same as with the previous document, this birth certificate of children either need to be apostilled or it has to be stamped by that country's embassy in Turkey and then validated at the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs or at the Kaymakamlık office. Many clients are asking me if it is better to invest in commercial property or if it is better to invest in residential property. The answer is simple. It depends on your risk criteria and also in your return expectations. The idea is that, especially in big cities such as Istanbul, the residential property might be safer because there is always a population who would want to rent that flat, and after you keep that property for 3 years, there will always be demand who will want to buy that property, so that you can rent out your property and you can sell it easily if it's a residential property. However, the returns might be better for commercial properties, especially if you are buying an office space or if you are buying a shop. In terms of the risk profile, usually businesses are more affected by the economic cycles, and it might be difficult to collect rent. However, if the business cycle is good and if you are collecting your rent, the investment return might be better for commercial property. The most important thing is that you need to make very careful research and you need to understand your investment criteria yourself, and then you need to choose between commercial property or residential property. One more option is that if you want a mixed asset class, then you can make $200,000 investment in residential property and you can make the remaining $200,000 investment in commercial property, so that you can make a risk diversification for Turkish properties here. Is it better to buy a second-hand property or is it better to buy a new property from a project development for the Turkish Citizenship by Investment program? Again, the answer depends on the client's risk profile. However, it's better and advisable for every client to make a research in both markets and then make a better informed decision. There are certain advantages of new projects and also there are some disadvantages, and same applies to second-hand properties. First of all, usually new projects are more expensive compared to second-hand properties because there is demand for them and it's brand new and people always pay premium for brand new properties. This is one disadvantage because it would be more pricey. However, if you are buying from a new project and if that developed area performs well in the future, then you can also sell it for a better price in the future, and also it might be easier to rent it as it's a new property. On the other hand, let's take a look at the second-hand properties. The second-hand properties are listed on the common marketplaces such as sahibinden.com and hepsiemlak.com, and there is already a well-established market, demand and supply for second-hand properties. So that when you buy a second-hand property, you are buying that property from the market price and you are not paying any extra premium for having it new or for having it in limited supply. The disadvantage is that when you buy a second property, the procedures might take longer because you are not dealing with a company. In fact, you are dealing with an individual seller. And also it might be more difficult to find a property that you like, because every time you want to see a property, like, you need to check them individually, and each seller you are checking is different person, and there might be more communicational problems in dealing with multiple sellers. In the end, it depends on the risk profile of the client. However, I advise every foreigner to check both markets. Especially I advise foreigners to check the second-hand market near the new properties. If they are intending to buy from a new property, it will give you a good idea how much will be the price of the new property you are buying 2 years or 3 years later. Now I will make a quick summary of this video, and I will give you all the essential tips for the Turkish citizenship by property investment. First of all, the minimum investment amount is $400,000. You can only invest in residential property and commercial property, and you cannot invest in land. You can buy multiple properties as long as the total value is more than $400,000. You can keep that property for 3 years and you can sell it after 3 years. If you sell your property before 3 years, then your Turkish citizenship will be revoked. You need to apply for the Turkish residence permit before applying to Turkish citizenship according to the rules. If you have any questions, you can always get in touch with me, and I would appreciate a lot if you can subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, you can always ask it in the comment section and I will reply. Have a good day.